The album that changed your life by Santana is
Abraxas. And Oye Como Va's on there.
and our special guest today, Obed Padilla.
My dad's a pastor, a minister.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you get in a lot of trouble?
I got in a lot of trouble. I didn't listen to anything else. I think I was like 12 years old. I didn't understand like pop culture, you know, because I was sheltered.
And what we want to explore here today is the albums that have changed our life. I'm a pastor's kid, missionary kid. So I'm an MKPK, so I got more demons. What do you think of the library?
Incredible. Incredible. It's really inspiring.
You wouldn't think it's here, right?
No. This is your personal collection?
Yeah.
That's great.
I think I have the theory that he who has the most books goes to heaven. Kind of thing. Something.
I like
I
that.
just love books.
I'm gonna take
I love
that
vinyl, but I love books.
Yeah, my dad is a very big reader. The house looks similar to this. I mean, not as vast of a collection, but I picked that up from him. Reading is great.
So do you have like a library at home?
Kind of. Not
If you have 2 books, you have a library.
Yeah. I got my own little personal collection of stuff that I read. I just started reading the Carlos Santana biography, which is great. I was telling them I'm pretty into, reading about people's lives and
Yeah, biographies sometimes are the best way to learn.
yeah, kind of seeing the path of that someone else took,
You always kind of find out that it's not a straight line. Like people went through a lot of stuff. Like outward appearances are, oh, he was successful or whatever, but behind the scenes.
Well, especially nowadays, with social media.
Yeah.
Everything's so fast and everybody wants to take a shortcut. It's like, no, this is actually the long way home.
Yeah, and you got to learn how to enjoy the journey, right?
Absolutely.
It's the journey, not the destination.
1,000%.
I always think like the worst day is when you put your feet up on the desk and you're like, I won life. Because
what else are you aspiring to? You're already done.
Did you grow up in Oceanside?
Yeah, I grew up in Oceanside. I mean, I've lived around the States a little bit. I lived in North Carolina for a couple years, lived in Colorado for a couple years, but all my formative years, I grew up in Oceanside.
How old were you when you went to North Carolina?
North Carolina, I think from like 5 to 8.
So what took your parents out there?
My dad's a pastor, a minister.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so...
So you grew up in the church?
I grew up in church.
Like Assembly of God or what?
More like kind of Southern Baptist, but like, I'm Mexican and Costa Rican, so on the Spanish side of that. But yeah, so my dad had churches and, he would be at a church for a few years, plant it, go somewhere, to another state, plant another church.
He liked to grow them versus keep them kind of a thing?
Yeah, just wherever he felt led to go.
Wow, how many siblings?
I have one younger sibling, brother.
A brother?
Younger brother, yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. And so he goes to North Carolina, does a church for 3 years, and then decides to go to Colorado?
Yeah. So then we went to Pueblo, Colorado, which is about 45 minutes from Colorado Springs. Very small town, kind of stuck in the past a little bit. A lot of veterans, people who worked kind of like in the mining, industry. And it's this really strange place that's just kind of stuck in the 60s, 70s, And then from there, we went to Oceanside and been there ever since.
So you know what they say about pastor kids, right? PKs?
They're the worst.
They get in trouble.
Yeah.
Did you get in a lot of trouble?
I got in a lot of trouble.
So how was that relationship between you and your dad?
I mean, my dad was pretty crazy himself. And I feel
he wasn't a traditional pastor?
I think growing up, he was a wild guy.
They're bringing you your drink. What did you order for a drink?
Ginger ale.
Oh, that's it?
That's it.
Nothing in there?
No, I'm just...
Oh, they take this very seriously, so...
Oh, I know.
Be the nicest
Thank
ginger
you so
ale you've
much.
ever had.
Yeah. I love a good ginger ale.
Thanks, baby.
Thank you so much.
I'm a little more hardcore than you. I'm a pastor's kid, missionary kid. So I'm an MKPK, so I got more
whiskey?
demons.
Cheers, brother.
Thank you.
Wait, so are you really pastor's kid as well?
Yeah, so interestingly, my parents were missionaries in Mexico. So from the time I was 5 until 13, I lived in Mexico.
Wow.
And they were pastors of a church and then missionaries.
That's
So
great.
it was an MKPK. So we probably had very similar experiences.
Absolutely.
My stepdad would go do revivals in Ensenada and different places, and yeah, very familiar. Very strict though. Like I wasn't allowed to watch TV, listen to music.
That's how I was.
I was only allowed to listen to praise music.
Yep, same. I didn't listen to anything else. I think I was like 12 years old. First time I like really listened to like the radio or anything that was mainstream.
I was 12, and this girl that was a pastor's daughter up in like LA up here that supported the ministry played me Michael Jackson Thriller. And I remember just thinking this is evil because that whole like voice of like that voiceover, and I was like, oh no, this music is the devil. Like,
That's great.
I was so naive, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just funny. What was? Do you remember the first thing that you kind of listened to that wasn't?
Well, so it's a trip because in Costa Rica, my dad had a big vinyl collection. When he came to the States, he had to leave everything. So up until about 12 years old, it was all praise and worship music. I had CDs and that's all I really listened to. And then my dad, somebody I think gifted him a few records, just vinyl, and he got the bug again. And so we started going to thrift stores, pawn shops on the weekends and getting vinyl. And this is like early 2000s, so nobody was, digging at that time. So we just got like built up this massive collection of stuff that we would get for $1, just like Zeppelin, the Beatles, Santana, Stevie Ray Vaughan.
And that's when you were 12?
That's when I was 12. And so
now your world opened up?
I was allowed to listen to that stuff because, it was just me bonding with my dad. But like, it still was kind of strict of like, I'm not listening to hip hop and stuff on the radio. But yeah, so that was like my first kind of introduction, was just all this stuff from the 60s and 70s that my dad was into.
So was it hard for you when you'd go to school and kids would talk about different music that was going on?
Yeah, because I didn't understand like pop culture, because I was sheltered. And it took, a little while to like know what's going on, like what was hip and, what everyone was into. And then also there was kind of like one of my best friends, he was like a youth group leader at the church, and he was really into like pop punk. And so that was something else that I listened to. He would give me all these burnt CDs of like Newfound Glory and all these different pop punk bands. And so that was what I listened to first before even listening to, anything on the radio. Then I got into the radio and what was, like pop and stuff and like Red Hot Chili Peppers, Green Day.
What's the radio station in San Diego? What was it?
KSON? 91X?
91X.
Yeah. 91X is great. Yeah, they played my stuff on 91X before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
what does your dad think of your music?
he likes it. He knows some of it is a little vulgar, but he knows that I'm just expressing myself,
Is he still a pastor?
Yeah, he's still a pastor in Oceanside.
Your music is great. It surprised me because, like, when I saw you, I didn't expect that sort of sweet melodic thing that you have.
I love that.
Really cool. So what instrument did you play growing up?
I started on, the first instrument I played was a bass guitar.
So did you play in church?
Yeah, I grew up playing in church.
Me too. I played drums in church 3 times a week.
Yeah, because we were always there. You're bored, and so there's always instruments around, and so,
Yeah, praise can be fun. It's jamming.
Yeah. So I started on bass.
Maybe a little different in mine because they were speaking in tongues and rolling around, where in Baptist churches, they didn't do that much.
So yours more, what, like Presbyterian?
Assembly of God.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So they were rolling around, like speaking in tongues,
So my dad's side of the family, a lot of them are pastors that came from Costa Rica, but it's a lot of that Assembly of God, and
So that praise can be fun because you're just jamming for a while, and
for sure
you got to bring up the intensity, and
you really can get your chops,
Oh
in
yeah,
church.
and it's repetition too.
Yeah. So yeah, started on bass, learned how to play all the notes and what the notes were, and then I went to guitar.
Did you
And
take lessons, or you just
No,
self-taught?
I'm self-taught. My dad played a little bit. My mom plays drums a little bit. So we always had instruments at the house. And it was accessible, but it was never like pushed on me like, oh, you should try, you know. It was just like, cool, if you want to, you know, go ahead and we'll support you. So yeah, self-taught. I started playing probably around the same time, like 12 years old.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think I started playing drums like I was probably like 8.
Really?
Yeah. But I mean, there was nothing else to do. It was so boring.
Yeah.
It's so boring being a pastor's kid.
For sure.
You're there all the time. People
Yeah.
don't understand how many times you go to church a week when you're a pastor's kid.
No.
And you
no.
never skip.
No. You can't stay homesick.
No, you're there. Like, and you're there before and you're there after.
Yep.
You're cleaning up.
I always had music around, you know, whether I was playing it or listening to it. Like,
you learn how to hook up a PA.
yeah.
Like, you know stuff that normal kids don't know, right? Yeah.
I was on PowerPoint duty. Like,
yeah. Well, see, I'm older than you. We didn't have PowerPoint. But also another thing that I would have to do sometimes is translate.
really?
People would come down from America and then you'd have to translate, and they wouldn't understand that.
You would translate from Spanish to English?
No, from English to Spanish. And they wouldn't understand that you got to cut your sermon in half because it takes twice as long.
Yeah. How long were your services? 3 hours?
Well, we just learned to tell people, like, you got to cut it down. You know, you
yeah.
got to watch the clock and that sort of thing. Watch the clock, like, before phones and all that.
Yeah,
like, people
yeah,
would
yeah,
watch, you know. Or I don't know. Do you look at it like a cool thing? Like, I think it
do.
was cool for me to grow up in Mexico, and to see that, like, gave me a perspective that most people wouldn't have.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think also kind of moving around a little bit from a young age, like, I was just exposed to so many different cultures and places. And it's really helped me now, you know, traveling around a lot. Like, nothing's really shocking, you know? I kind of feel comfortable anywhere. Yeah, I don't know. I feel blessed. Like, even though I was strict and, you know, I was sheltered and stuff, is great. Like, I'm grateful for all the lessons and stuff that I learned. And,
Do you have kids?
No, not
No?
yet.
When you do, are you going to be strict with them, or are you going to let them, like, at what
think
age are you going to let your daughter have a phone?
Pick and choose. I mean, the phone thing is crazy because I feel like kids have to have a phone nowadays, but it's like,
Why do they have to have a phone? Like, I have a lot of friends that are buying farms and moving out there with their kids.
I don't know. I feel like this day and age, like, you know, being connected, like, if you have a child, like, you know, you're going to let them go to the movies, like, you're just going to be looking for them, or you want to call them, you know? Or
It's a babysitter in a way.
yeah.
It's funny. So do you have a system at home?
As
A
far
hi-fi system?
Not a hi-fi system, no.
No?
But
do you have vinyl at home?
yeah, we have vinyl at home.
What song would you use to test a system?
Honestly, like Oye Como Va.
So the album that changed your life by Santana is what?
Abraxas. And Oye Como Va is on there.
So let's listen to that really quick. How old were you the first time you heard it?
I want to say almost 13. I remember getting this and like seeing the album cover and just like almost not being in a trance, but just like so mesmerized.
Was it the naked girl that got you?
Yeah, not the naked girl. It was just the collage of everything.
Yeah,
like, it was just so
it's a collage.
trippy, and like you can just stare at it for hours. And, like, what does it mean? You know?
Yeah. What did you think it meant?
I didn't have any clue at that time. I was just so intrigued by it.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is crazy that like there's so much going on.
Also, like,
And the
even though
colors,
there's
too.
even though like the naked girl is on it, like it's not. It's like it's sensual, but like it's not sexual. I don't know. It's just like it's just art.
Well,
You know?
Yeah, it's like National Geographic in a way. Like,
Yeah. But yeah, like what an incredible album cover.
Did you ever talk to your dad about it?
We've talked about Santana, never talked about the album cover.
What about the album?
It was the, I guess, first formative thing that I remember listening to and like understanding it, feeling like I had heard it before, it was familiar to me. And it almost felt like It's probably my dad's probably his favorite album as well, and it almost feels like something that was like passed down to me from him. Not to make it super deep, but it just, I don't know. It's like I knew this already,
music is deep.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot to it. Do you try to do that in your music? Like make it sound familiar in a way that people feel like they've already experienced it at some point?
Yeah, I am a sucker for nostalgia. And so I feel like blending something that is like old but making it new and taking all of these references and inspirations, there is a familiarity to it. But it's making it my own, you know, and making it new. It's like new vintage.
Yeah. I always like that. Like I like if there's a little familiarity that invites you in a little.
Absolutely. All the greatest pop songs, there is that, you know, like you're like, oh, I know this.
What about the production of the album? Like it's insane. There's a couple things that I notice about it. One is how incredible Santana is that he gives everybody else space.
Yeah.
Like he's not playing over the top of that song. He really only has a couple parts that he really goes for it. The rest of the time he's letting everybody else shine.
But they're also his parts are memorable.
Yeah.
It's like you're like, oh, it's almost like that's the hook, you know? Like you know that. You hear and you hear that and you're like, oh, that's Santana.
Also to the different styles, because the organ you wouldn't think would go with the kind of the Latin drums. And
I think that was a big thing too, is just like the blending of all these different sounds. Like it's like you can tell there's no rules, but there's also a structure.
Yeah.
It's like organized chaos.
And a mutual respect kind of.
Yeah.
Where everybody
shines
matters.
on it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I just remember hearing it, and also I think being Mexican and Costa Rican, like there's just it's just the Latin roots of it, you know? It's like, oh, I feel this in my blood.
So what effects do you think this album had on you and your music?
I think the no rules aspect of it, and just being able to like create freely. Also, growing up, I never felt like there was anybody who really looked like me. And so even knowing what Carlos Santana looked like, it was like I could see myself in that, you know, like being Latino and, you know, having somebody to look up to.
Yeah, did you experience that more in North Carolina?
I think I was too young. My dad did. He definitely, like, there was aspects of that, of like, you know, racism and stuff like that. But I don't remember anything. I was too young. But yeah, what an incredible album.
Yeah, no, and it's crazy how those sort of things can get you through times like that where you feel you don't fit in, but you relate to that. So
yeah,
it bridges the gap in a sense.
Absolutely.
Do you think it was that for your dad also?
Yeah, I feel like my dad's somewhat of a loner. I kind of feel the same way too, but it's like I always had music. Like, I never felt alone listening to music, you know? It was like a place of comfort.
Yeah, how did mom play into all this?
I mean, my mom has always been great and like supportive, but like, I think she was more protective than my dad as far as being introduced to culture and music and, you know, the worldly things.
Is your mom a good cook?
She's a great cook. She's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
That's great.
best.
What's your...
You like chile rellenos?
Oh, yeah.
My mom makes like the best chile rellenos.
I was going to ask you what your favorite thing is.
Yeah, chile rellenos. That's mine.
So if it's like your birthday and
That's
she's
my
like,
meal.
what do you want? You'll go for chili rellenos?
Yeah. Bro, I'll eat like 8 of them.
I remember as a
she
kid in
makes, like,
Mexico,
almost
there was always
the soup.
a pan of grease.
Yeah, that's a big thing too.
Everything was fried.
Yeah. But it's just, I don't know, it makes everything taste so much better. It's probably not as good for you.
But there's less and less of that now.
Yeah. Even
don't
all the
see it.
old school Mexican people are health conscious. They're like, yeah,
I remember my friends that I would play with all the time that lived on the same street. I would just go sit next to the stove when their mom was making tortillas, and then you'd get them right off the stove. Oh,
so good.
The best.
You can eat those. Just put a little butter on it, and like that's the whole meal.
It's like candy.
Yeah,
so good.
Incredible.
That's by far the best food. You get like a mom like that can make chili rellenos,
and it's like made with love.
Oh yeah, it's all love. It's great. Was your mom into music?
Yes, but she's always just kind of listened to like worship music and stuff. She was into disco, like she liked like the Bee Gees randomly, and like I think that was her era of like growing up. And
do you like disco?
Yeah, I do like disco.
One of the songs that we tried on this, because these speakers are new to us.
That's what they were telling me.
And
how do you like them compared to your old system?
Well, the old system's behind us. We just wanted this for this, this look and this set. They're pretty great. I think.
Yeah, they sound really good.
They are definitely an experience, which is what we were trying to do. But so this is kind of disco. Do you like horns?
Oh, I love horns.
Yeah, me too. I love the horns in that.
I like the subtlety of them though. They're like not so in your face. They're just perfect,
It's great. Quincy Jones is incredible.
Yeah, just all of his arrangements, Like I said, there's a reason for everything that.
Is that what you think of when you think of Quincy Jones' arrangement?
Yeah. And just placing things like that perfectly, like where they're supposed to be at a specific time. And it's like it's never overdone.
How do you approach that with your music?
I like to make it chaotic, put everything in all at once, and then arrange things, But it's like I want
by deduction.
Yeah, taking things out, moving things around. But it's like I want to paint the whole picture first, and then, move stuff, take stuff out.
What's your process for writing? Like, do you have like a place that you go, a certain notebook? Like, do you have a system for it?
I used to have more of a system. I feel like lately it's been a lot of like I will sit and record, like write as I go. So literally, recording and writing like.
Are you just playing guitar?
I'll play guitar or I'll have an instrumental or something like production that I've made already, and then
put lyrics over the top.
Yeah.
Do you start with the melody or the lyrics?
Melody.
The melody?
I always start with music first. There's an occasional time, like I in high school, I was really into spoken word and poetry. So sometimes I'll have little things that I've written, a line or two, and I'm like, oh, that's I'm gonna take that and try to, make a song out of that. But most of the time it's the music first.
Are you into Zach Bryan at all?
I do like Zach Bryan a lot.
Do you like that poet. Spoken word stuff?
I love it.
Oh my God. Do you like that?
He's incredible.
Do you like
really
the horns on that on that?
Which song specifically?
I'll play it for you.
Are you a big Zach Bryan fan?
Yeah, we all went and saw him twice when he was here.
Really?
And I think even the boys who like aren't super into country were like, wow. And his revival thing at the end of the Pentecostal thing. The second time we saw him, John Mayer came out and played with them during that. Yeah, it was great.
Do you like as far as the revival thing, Tyler Childers?
I think that's
cinematic epicness to it,
Yeah, it's very cinematic. I think that Zach Bryan is one of the best albums in a long time.
For sure.
His new one's great, but there's something about this one.
You should check out Tyler Childers. I think it's Can My Hounds Go to Heaven? Let me remember the song. There's one specific song, and I think due to our church upbringings, you will appreciate it.
Do you know which? I'll just go put.
I'll give you the song right now. It's "Way of the Triune God."
Wow.
And it's the Hallelujah version.
That's great.
It's real cool.
That question that I always wondered if I could take my dogs to heaven.
But it's, you know, the religious undertones and it's just relatable. I
Yeah.
guess. But I really love that guy. He's great.
That's fun. What else are you listening to recently? What artists do you think are doing something special right now?
Have you heard of the Sacred Souls out of San Diego? They kind of, my boy Josh is their singer, but they're really cool. They're doing this like oldies, like Motown sound, but now it's really great. I mean, the Zach Bryan, Tyler Childers. I'm trying to think who else I listen to. I mean, I listen to, you know, Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole.
What do you think of Kendrick's new album?
I think it's a mixtape. I think that like he has an album coming.
Really?
Like yeah.
Man, I think it's one of the best things I've heard in a
It's
long
great.
time.
It's really good, and I also love just like the amount of, you know, Mexican artists that were on it. You know, from up here in the LA area. I think that was really cool.
It's the very first song we played on these speakers is this one. Like, we couldn't believe it.
Are you a big Kendrick fan?
Yeah, like, I don't know how you can not be.
Yeah.
I don't, like, you think he's still pissed at Drake? Is that what's going on there?
Nah.
No?
I feel like by this point, like, he's the guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to say anything at this point.
It's nuts.
But yeah, the whole project is really great. And to me, it felt like he was like really inspired and did it in like 3 days. You know, he just locked in and was like, all right, let's do this.
It has that, it kind of has that vibe.
Energy.
Like, it's just like now.
Yeah.
It's like, I had to get this out.
Yeah. I love the energy of it.
But it almost feels bigger than him too, in a way. Like,
for sure.
He's tapping into something.
Oh, absolutely. I think he always does.
Yeah.
Like, you can go back and listen to stuff, older stuff, and still catch something like, oh, that's what he meant by it, you know? Like, yeah, he's special. He's special. Else? I mean, I still listen to a lot of older music still, you know. Stevie Ray Vaughan.
You kind of have an old soul.
I would say so. I just appreciate older stuff, specifically music. A lot of Johnny Cash. Yeah, a lot of blues guys. I've been listening to a lot of Eric Clapton recently. I just got back from London, and I was like, let me like listen to some Clapton before I go. And then, I don't know, it's kind of inspiring, you know? Like, it's cool to just be there, and like, there's so many great artists that came from this place, you know?
Where do you rank London in greatest cities in the world?
I mean, I haven't traveled the world like that. That was kind of my first international trip. I mean, I've been to Mexico, but London is like my first.
Have you been to New York?
I've been to New York.
Okay.
I would say London, New York are almost the same to me.
Yeah, me too. Except that, I don't know, there's something a little more sophisticated about London.
Definitly. I also think
New York's a little dirty.
A lot more walkable or like closer, like just the tube, like getting on the tube, like any neighborhood, anywhere you want to go is at least 10 minutes from, you know, some stop.
Yeah, and you're a couple hours from Paris on a train too.
Yeah, like which is wild.
Yeah. I love London. We're going in January.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Great. How long are you gonna be out there?
A week.
Oh, okay, great. That's awesome.
I'd go to London once a year at least.
Yeah, it was great being there too, though. At this time of year, it was just like Christmas and everything. Like, you know, it felt real hallmarky.
People are nice too, right?
Yeah, very kind.
Yeah,
very kind. I also think they have a appreciation for music as well, and like pop culture, and you know.
Yeah, some of the music coming out of there is pretty great too.
Yeah.
So just to wrap it up, like how did this album change your life?
It's just been the biggest influence of like me and my artistry and me playing guitar. I could say like I sing, but I wouldn't call myself a singer. I don't feel like I have like the best voice. But whenever I have something that I need to say that I can't say it, I play it on guitar. And I feel like Santana is the same. Like his voice is guitar and the things that he plays. And Yeah, I think that's why it's kind of an album that changed my life. It's like expressing yourself by any means possible.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great perspective. I never thought of that, but it is his voice. Like his instrument is his voice. That's great.
Yeah. And he's always like, you can hear he's always saying something. It's just up to you to gather what it is. But
Yeah, don't you think the best music or even the best art is when somebody has something to say?
yeah, I think maybe that's also my appreciation for older things is nowadays it doesn't feel like too many people have something to say.
I agree with that. What do you think it is that they're doing?
Trying to go viral. I don't know. Like it's the social media age, you know?
Yeah.
It's very microwave, quick.
TV dinner?
People don't take as much time to like really make something that'll last because they were just in the now. You're like, I need something that's gonna, you know, move right now. Instead of being like, no, I want this to, you have to take this in little by little, you know? This isn't cookie cutter.
Yeah, that's really well said. What are you working on right now?
Working on an EP, gonna release some new music, you know, top of the year.
So 5 songs?
Like 5 or 6 songs. Yeah. Probably next year put out like two of those. 2 EPs and, you know, just be consistent and create and, you know, I just want to make things that are special.
Yeah, like your videos are really good too. Like how much work do you put into those?
Oh, a lot. Me and my boys, like we grew up in Oceanside. So I feel like we are just expressing things that we've seen growing up, you know, in this place. Like was crazy for us, you know, when we were younger. And I think there's a lot of things that are relatable to other people too, you know, in the videos. I mean, all the people that I looked up to were all working class, you know, and I wanted to shed a light on that. So a lot of those videos, it's like me being a mechanic, working on a car, you know, doing something like being a busboy or whatever, you know, and like those are all the people that I looked up to that were just solid, you know, and I wanted to shine a light on that, especially because a lot of the stuff I was putting out was very hip hop based and, you know, very rap and bar heavy. And in hip hop, there is a look at my car, look at my chain, you know.
Yeah.
And so I kind of just wanted to do something that was far out from that, you know.
Yeah, more human.
Yeah, more
Yeah.
relatable.
You definitely get that sense. But also your videos are very creative and like well done, well executed.
Thank you. Yeah, we work hard on them, and
You can
know,
tell.
like I said, we just want to make things that are special and that are gonna last, you know.
Yeah, I think we kind of have the same mindset here. Like we'd rather try to do it right than just do it.
Yeah, but also with purpose.
And not like not doing it to show off to make other people feel inferior, but to invite them in.
Yeah,
Like books, you know, it's like, hey, like everybody loves books. If you have 2, you got a library, like, but tell me the one that you love, you know?
yeah, and why?
Yeah. Yeah, the story about it, the humanity. Do you think things are going to go that way more?
I think so.
Feels like they are.
I think there's a shift in culture and people trying not to be on their phones and, you know, even vinyl records and books and physical things, you know.
Yeah. What's the scene like in San Diego for music?
There's a few people out of there. Like there's some really great musicians. But I don't know if there's really like a cohesive scene, you know. I feel like LA is like a hub. But I don't know if there's really a big scene in San Diego. There's some great artists, great musicians, but I don't know if there's really a scene.
So do you end up coming up here more?
Yeah, I work a lot up here.
How often do you perform up here?
Not too often. I just had a show in San Diego last Saturday. Next year we'll definitely like be on tour. Yeah, I'm up in LA all the time. I love it here. It's great, you know. A lot of great musicians, producers, writers. It's
all
Mecca.
yeah, so much talent. It's great. Well, if you ever want to come hang out in the library, we'd love to have you.
Absolutely. This place is incredible, bro. You really done something great here.
There's lots of books I think you'd dig.
I know I was in the kind of like the waiting area, but I saw the Esteban Oriol photo book.
Oh yeah,
it's one of my favorites. He's so great.
He's great. Yeah.
He actually took my portrait at a show that I played at.
Oh really?
Yeah. It was like probably one of the coolest things that ever happened to me. We like took a photo and then he's like, can I take your photo? I was like, yeah. So I don't know. Somewhere there's a photo of me.
Oh, you didn't get it from him?
No. That's the coolest part. He took it on a film camera.
There's a new book that he has. Maybe you're in that.
Maybe. But I'd like to leave it just how it is. I don't even want to know. It's like,
yeah. That's funny.
It's just a great moment.
He's taking some great pictures.
Yeah. LA legend, you know.
Do you have tattoos?
Yeah. Let me show you this Johnny Cash piece.
What's your favorite Johnny Cash album?
I don't know if I have a favorite Johnny Cash album, but I love all the stuff that he did with June. That's like my favorite stuff. You do what?
Oh, yeah. That's great. Who was the artist that did that?
My boy Nico Tolentino.
He's good.
My boy from Oceanside that I grew up with. He does all my art.
That's really cool. I like the placement too.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's great. Well, thank you for doing this.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah, anything we can do to support you or let us know.
I had a great time. It was a great conversation. Thank you so much for having me.
PK to PK. That's so funny. I would have never guessed that actually listening to your music, but now it makes more sense.
Like this.
It's the empathy, I think.
Kid.
You have a lot of empathy. That's a part of it. So great.
To finish off, I think that too of the black and whiteness of growing up in a religious household. You're kind of more aware of the gray area. Like everything is a gray area. Nothing's black and white.
Yeah. Well, what about the side of that where there's an image that you have to uphold, but what's really happening is something else? I guess that's the gray that you're talking about, right?
Yeah. I think also, luckily, my folks never had me, I never had to fit the image.
They just let you be a kid?
I was always allowed to be myself, even if it was detrimental, you know, to let me figure stuff out.
That's good. I think that's the right way to do it.
Healthy. Yeah.
I think I had a mix of that, but I had to fit a profile.
Did you?
I had to behave, yeah.
Did you feel like it made you act up as you got older?
Well, you know what happened to me is my stepdad, when I was 12, 13, left my mom and I for this girl from the church that was 21.
Wow.
And kind of before that, I was experiencing some things that were contradictory to the narrative that you're taught, you know? And I think I just started to feel like it was kind of a business and a facade.
Yeah,
it wasn't genuine. Well. I mean, no different than, you know, some guy driving around in a Lambo on Instagram and then, you know, he rented it for a day, but he's on a private jet, and you know, it's all like relative in a sense of what the image is and what the humanity is behind that.
Yeah.
So I think I became very aware of that very, very young. I don't know. I kind of think I felt like it was all an act.
I relate to that. I think that's a huge part of my bias even today, you know, as my dad still being a preacher and me kind of not going to church and stuff. It's like, I'll try to go, but then it's like my own biases I'm like, see, you proved me right. You know, I still try to give it a chance. But it's like, no.
What was it for you that flipped that, where you were disenchanted?
Just the judgmental aspect and like knowing that everybody has their vices, whether you show them or not. So let's not act like you're holier than thou and, you know, like, give me the real. I want to know your dirt. I'll tell you mine.
Yeah.
I have no problem showing you mine.
You know what's funny too? I think something that came out of that for me is I hate small talk. Like you're saying, like, give me the dirt. Like, let's talk about the real thing.
Yeah.
Why do we got to do the small talk?
Yeah,
Like, I
what's
hate
the
small
worst thing
talk.
you've done and why did you do it?
Yeah.
And I'm not judgmental at all. I'll tell you mine. Like, what, you know?
Yeah. I feel the same way. It's like, you know how you have like the keeping up with the Joneses, you have the keeping up with the Jesus.
Yeah.
Like who can be more holy? But the outcome of that really is people are very judgmental.
Definitely.
It's the opposite of what the Bible would be teaching in a sense.
It's funny because I've met some of the worst people, but also some of the kindest people in that setting.
Yeah. But for me, I would say the kindest people are like one in a million, kind of like.
Yeah.
There's a certain people
I can
that
count
just
them on my hand.
Their energy is just love.
Yeah.
Like they'll take whatever. They're selfless and it's just love. But yeah, they're very few and far between.
Absolutely.
The judgmental, keeping up with the Jesuses.
That's the
Joneses, yeah. And it's a business too. That's the sad thing, is it ends up being a business.
Yeah. And I've seen my dad have a small church most of my life. He was never a businessman about it. And I've seen other people kind of be like, well, why don't you have this many people? And he's like, if I had 1,000 people in here, like I couldn't cater to every single person. I have 100 people that come here that I can kind of manage and, you know, have a relationship with everybody, but like a real relationship, authentic. How do you do that with 10,000 people? And so yeah, you can't.
No, then it just becomes an act.
Yeah. So yeah. I've seen the bad side and the good side though, you know, the fake and the real. But
yeah. It's funny.
PKs, man.
PKs. Trouble. It's great. Cool. Well, thank you so much.
Chris, thank you, bro.
Oh, yeah. I want to give you my book, too. Have you seen this?
Oh, no, I haven't.
So this is it's a leadership book.
Great.
And it's 2 books. It's the I Am and then it's the Leader. And I think you'll dig it. Kind of like your style of music is like same sort of thing when I'm doing a book, is it's written to be more of an experience than just a book.
Bro, this is incredible. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and you don't have to open it now. It might be something you want to spend a little time with. But
definitely
take your time. Like it's not meant to be read cover to cover. It's very personal, and you know the intention is that you kind of stop and think about it.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Let me know what you think.
Oh, I will. This is great.